Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat Martial Arts and Fitness. This is Mat Chat. So today, what we're going to talk about is defense. When you're first starting off, and I'm talking about in the context of striking, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, when you're first starting off, defense isn't really the biggest focus. A lot of us start off trying to get an understanding of offense, trying to not teach ourselves, but learn how to throw punches correctly, throw kicks correctly, work our footwork. We're mainly focused on offense. And usually when somebody doesn't know how to fight, defense it means that actually defense is something that they don't have an understanding of. Defense is what makes the difference between somebody who knows what they're doing and somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So it's very important. But I think starting off, and this is something for me that took me I wouldn't say longer than I wanted to, longer than necessary. It took me longer to understand the idea of what defense was all about. Initially, we'll think that defense is about not getting hit, blocking punches, moving out the way. And it wasn't until I understood that it had very little to do with those things and more to do with how to get hit. So the focus in defense, what makes a good defensive fighter is not that the fighter doesn't get hit, it's that the fighter doesn't get hit cleanly. And I think that understanding that part, just understanding the concept that you're supposed to get hit, can dramatically change how you approach your striking, how you approach your sparring, how you approach your fighting. Stepping into a fight or stepping into sparring or stepping into martial arts, stepping into boxing, whatever, and expecting not to get hit is like jumping in the pool and expecting not to get wet. You're going to get hit. It's going to happen. And I think the quicker we accept that, the quicker we embrace that, the quicker we expect that, and even the quicker we desire that, the better off we'll be. But like I said, it's not about not getting hit, it's about not getting hit cleanly. It's not about blocking the punch, it's about absorbing the punch. Being able to block, evade, and defend against striking the conventional way. I think we've all been kind of brainwashed by Hollywood when we see these elaborate choreographed fight scenes where the participants have these superhuman reflexes. It gives us the impression that that's how it's supposed to go down, but that's not how it goes down. We're human beings. You want as little as possible of your game and your defense specifically to be dependent on reflexes. So a big part of your defense is going to be your stance. I always tell my students that your stance should give you about 70% coverage. That means that your head is down. That means that your hands are covering your chin. That means also that your hands aren't too high. You want them in a nice neutral position. You want your shoulders relaxed so you can sustain it. You want to be able to stand in front of somebody and them have to really dig deep in order to find an opening. And this is without you doing any kind of moving, any kind of reacting. So the foundation for defense comes from your stance. If your head is down, even if you're getting hit in the head, when your head is in the right position, you can actually hurt the person that's hitting you. You can hurt their hand if your head's in the right position, if your skull is facing toward them. A big part of defense is being able to absorb the punch, being able to absorb the shock of the punch. So it has a lot to do with how agile your stance is, how absorbent your stance is. You want your stance to be designed in a way that you only need to make small compensations to cover the areas that aren't already covered. Now, once you have figured out an awesome stance, then you have to accept the fact that you're going to get hit. You have to go in expecting to get hit. And I even recommend to my students to actually desire to get hit, to want to get hit. Because that's where a lot of your opportunities come from. When you're sparring at a certain level or fighting at a certain level, there are not going to be any openings. You have to create the openings. The openings are only going to be when the person's actually throwing a punch. So part of your strategy has to be, how am I going to take these punches so I can serve up some punches of my own? You look at who people would consider the greatest defensive boxer of all time, Floyd Mayweather Jr. And look at the way he's not blocking punches. Punches are grazing off of him. He's adjusting himself so he's not getting hit cleanly. And I would say that part of the genius of how he designed his stance, his style, is that his stance and style, his defensive strategy has nothing to do with not getting hit. And the reason why he was able to sustain it for so long is that his style was not dependent on reflexes that are fleeting. And you'll notice this with a lot of the type of fighters that slip, that seem to have cat-like reflexes, that can get out the way at the last minute. Those guys, when they get to a certain age and that eyesight starts slipping away from them, they start getting knocked out left and right. It is not humanly sustainable, even if you are very gifted and have superhuman reflexes and eyesight. Pretty soon that catches up with you. But what I always recommend to my students is to start going into your sparring sessions wanting to get hit. Curious to see what sort of openings present themselves to you while you're getting hit. Curious to see how you take the punch. Curious to see what sort of adjustments you need to make so those openings are minimal. It's not about kung fu blocking these punches out the way. It's about the punches barely hitting you. It's about rolling off the punches and the punches grazing off of you. And that is going to facilitate the best possible defensive game that you could have. But you have to go into it expecting to get hit. Defense, defense, defense. So, starting off, if you're looking to sharpen your defense, what I would do is I would start with my stance. I will make sure that I have the coverage that I need, and everybody's body type and shape is different. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of do your research. You have to make the adjustments and you have to figure out the small details that work for you. But keeping the chin down, making sure that the hands are covering the chin, making sure that the hands aren't too high where they're leaving your midsection open, making sure that those shoulders are rested up on your body, making sure that the chin is down, making sure that the forehead is facing your opponent. Making sure that your stance is sturdy. You're not standing up too tall. You're able to absorb the shock. Because a big part of defense, it's not about just standing there and being an evasive punching bag. No, it's about making them pay. It's about we're both inside. Who's going to land the cleaner shots? We're both where we want to be offensively, but if I'm close enough to you to hit you, you're close enough to me to hit me. So whoever can take the punches the best is the one that's going to win the exchange. Defense, defense, defense. So, sharpening your defense is going to start with tightening your stance. It's going to start with a mentality, a psychology of curiosity to see what sort of opportunities present themselves when you're getting hit. And go into the sparring sessions looking to get hit. And I'll leave you with this, and I mentioned this to a student a couple days ago. I think he's been training with me for about a year. I said, hey, listen, how many times have you gotten your head knocked off your shoulders? How many times have you gotten really, really blasted hard while sparring? He couldn't remember. I was like, probably not. Probably hasn't happened. So my point is that a lot of times we're overreacting to something that's not going to happen. So get in there, be brave, be curious, and see what sort of opportunities present themselves for you when you're getting hit. Like I said, the swimmer doesn't stand next to the pool and say, I want to swim, and expect not to get wet. So the striker shouldn't expect not to get hit. All right, guys, gotta run. Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat, Martial Arts and Fitness. This was Mat Chat.